All right, welcome back everybody to another deep dive. Today, we're going to be tackling Kubernetes cluster management.
Oh, yeah.
It can sound pretty complex, but we're going to break it down with some open source tools.
Yeah.
That'll make it easy for everybody to understand.
Mm-hmm.
So Kubernetes is like the conductor of an orchestra, right? And make sure all your applications are working together nicely in the cloud. But managing those clusters as they grow, it can be tricky.
Yeah, it can get very complicated very quickly.
Luckily, there's a whole open source community out there that is dedicated to, making your life easier.
Exactly.
And that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a toolkit of the best open source solutions for you.
Yeah.
That'll help you streamline your workflow, boost your monitoring,
Right.
and even automate some of those tedious tasks that nobody wants to do.
Nobody wants to do.
Let's jump right in. First up, canines.
Okay.
Now, if you love command line interfaces,
Right.
canines will be something that you'll really enjoy. Imagine you're trying to debug a failing pod
Okay.
using Kubectl.
Yeah.
It's like searching for a needle in a haystack.
Yeah.
But with canines, you get a really nice visual interface right in your terminal.
Exactly. It's like,
So you don't have to scroll through all those lines of text.
yeah, all that crazy output. It just simplifies everything.
It gives you a map of your cluster so you can see everything going on.
Exactly.
You can drill down to specific resources in just a few clicks.
Yeah.
So let's say you're in the middle of a deployment and things start going haywire. Happens all the time.
With canines, you can instantly see which pods are misbehaving,
Right.
peek into the logs. You can even check the resource usage, all in real time.
Yeah, that's super valuable.
It's like having X-ray vision into your cluster.
Yeah, I love that analogy.
You can spot problems before they become major issues.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to something that can make deployments even more fun.
Okay.
ArgoCD
Right.
and the magic of GitOps.
Ah, yes. GitOps. So remember how frustrating it is when your development environment doesn't match production.
Oh, yeah.
ArgoCD is here to fix that.
That's right.
Basically, it takes the concept of version control, which you're familiar with from your code, and it applies it to your entire infrastructure.
Yep.
It's called GitOps.
Love it.
And it's a game changer. You define your desired state in code, you push it to your Git repository, and ArgoCD will automatically make sure your cluster matches those changes.
It's fantastic.
You can treat your infrastructure like code.
Exactly.
Which means all the benefits of versioning, collaboration, and automation apply.
Yep.
Plus, it works really well with other tools like Helm and Customize.
Yeah, the integrations are really fantastic.
And you get a nice web UI,
Yep.
so you can monitor everything, track the status of your applications. You can even roll back changes.
Yeah, it's super powerful. It's like having mission control.
Mission control.
It's right there.
For your deployment.
Exactly.
Speaking of mission control,
Okay.
let's talk about security.
All right.
Because while we love automating things,
Yes,
we definitely don't want to be automating security breaches.
for sure.
So this is where Kyverno comes in.
Okay.
It's like having a security guard for your cluster, making sure everyone's following the rules.
Yeah. Right.
It's a policy engine for Kubernetes. You can define policies for resource quotas, security standards,
Yep.
image vulnerabilities, anything you can think of.
Yeah.
And it enforces them automatically across the whole cluster.
I love it.
So you can rest assured that your workloads are compliant and secure.
That's right.
And it's Kubernetes native, which means you define your policies using YAML files. You apply them just like any other resource.
Exactly.
So you don't have to learn any new languages
Right.
or deal with complicated dependencies.
Keep it simple.
It's all about keeping things simple and secure. Let's shift gears a little bit.
Right.
Let's talk about something that can be a real pain,
Right.
DNS management,
Yeah.
especially when you're dealing with multiple environments and services.
Yeah.
Keeping your DNS records in sync, it can be a nightmare.
Absolutely.
But we've got something to help with that.
Okay.
External DNS.
Right.
It's like having a dedicated DNS administrator that makes sure your DNS records are up to date no matter how much your cluster changes.
Yeah.
It works by integrating with your DNS provider,
Right.
whether that's AWS Route 53, Google Cloud DNS, or any other provider.
Yep.
And it'll automatically create and update your DNS records based on your Kubernetes services.
Yeah.
So you can deploy new services, scale existing ones,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have to worry about manually changing your DNS settings.
I love it.
Okay, let's move on to another critical aspect of security.
Okay.
SSL certificates.
All right.
Essential. But managing them could be a headache. You got to generate them, renew them, make sure they're installed correctly.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
So we've got Cert-Manager.
Okay.
It's like having a personal assistant for your SSL certificates.
Mm-hmm.
Handles everything. Issuance, renewal, propagation, management.
Yeah.
And the best part,
What's that?
it integrates with popular certificate authorities like Let's Encrypt.
Oh, nice.
So it's really easy to get free trusted certificates for all your Kubernetes services.
Yeah, that's super valuable.
So no more tedious manual processes
Right.
or worrying about expired certificates.
Yeah.
Now, so far we've talked about managing individual components
Right.
of your cluster.
Yeah.
But what about getting a bird's eye view
Yeah.
of the whole system?
Okay.
So for that, we have Lens.
Okay.
It's been called the IDE for Kubernetes.
I heard that.
Imagine a control panel for your entire cluster,
Okay.
giving you a visual way to interact with all the resources,
Mm-hmm.
monitor performance,
Yeah.
troubleshoot issues,
Okay.
all in one place.
That's awesome.
You can see which pods are running, how much resources they're using, check their logs.
Yeah.
You can even execute commands right from the interface.
Right.
It's like X-ray vision,
Yeah.
but with a much friendlier user experience.
That's what we need.
And if you love Helm,
Okay.
Lens has built-in support for managing Helm charts.
Awesome.
You can browse them, install them, upgrade them, roll back releases, all from one place.
Wow.
Now, we've covered a lot. We talked about command line tools, GitOps automation, security,
Mm-hmm.
but no discussion of Kubernetes management is complete without talking about monitoring and observability.
Yeah.
You can't manage what you can't see.
You can't.
So for that, we have the dynamic duo, Prometheus and Grafana.
A classic combo.
Prometheus is like the data gathering detective. It collects metrics from every corner of your cluster,
Mm-hmm.
while Grafana takes that data
All right.
and turns it into these beautiful dashboards so you can actually see what's going on.
Yeah, I love Grafana.
Prometheus will scrape metrics from your applications, from the Kubernetes components, from your infrastructure.
Yep.
It gives you this complete picture
Hmm.
of your cluster's health.
Right.
Grafana takes all those metrics and turns them into actionable insights.
Yeah.
You can create custom dashboards, set up alerts, correlate data from different sources,
Mm-hmm.
to really get a holistic view of your entire system.
It's like having a real-time health monitor for your cluster.
Yeah, exactly.
You can see everything that's going on.
Speaking of health monitors, what if something does go wrong,
Okay.
right? How do you quickly troubleshoot and resolve issues
Mm-hmm.
in this complex environment?
Yeah, it's a challenge.
This is where Prometheus and Grafana really shine.
Mm-hmm.
With those detailed metrics and customizable dashboards, you can really quickly pinpoint the root cause of a problem,
Yeah.
whether it's a failing pod, a resource bottleneck, a network issue, you name it.
It's super helpful.
It's like having a forensic investigator
I love it.
on call so they can dissect any issue that comes up.
Yeah.
And since Prometheus stores its data in a time series database,
Mhm.
you can look at historical trends
Mm-hmm.
and identify patterns
Right.
that might indicate issues down the line.
Yeah.
It's like having a crystal ball that helps you avoid problems
Exactly.
before they happen.
That's what we want.
So setting up Prometheus and Grafana can be a little daunting,
Yeah, it can be.
especially for those that are new to these tools.
Yeah.
But lucky for us, there's a solution.
Okay.
Kube-Prometheus-Stack.
All right.
It's a prepackaged solution that bundles Prometheus, Grafana, and a bunch of other essential tools,
Nice.
all configured and ready to go.
Awesome.
It's like a monitoring starter kit for Kubernetes.
I love it.
You get comprehensive monitoring, alerting, and pre-built dashboards.
Wow.
And you don't have to spend hours configuring everything yourself.
That's fantastic.
So that was a lot of information.
We covered a lot.
We talked about navigating your cluster with K9s, securing it with Kyverno, automating your deployments with ArgoCD.
Mm-hmm.
We explored a bunch of open source tools
Yep.
that can make managing Kubernetes so much easier.
Absolutely.
So what are your thoughts so far? What are you most excited about? What do you want to learn more about?
Yeah, let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Yeah, it's really amazing to see the open source community coming together to make these tools to manage Kubernetes.
Oh, yeah.
These are more than just code. They're a testament to making Kubernetes accessible and building awesome tech.
Exactly. It's like this toolbox built by people who use Kubernetes every day for other people who use it every day.
Yeah.
Let's get practical. So let's say you're just getting started with your Kubernetes journey,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe you're feeling a little overwhelmed with all the choices.
Right.
Where do you begin with all these tools?
That's a good question. I think I would start by identifying your biggest pain point What's causing you the most headaches in your current workflow?
Right.
Is it the command line?
Maybe canines can help? Are you struggling to keep your environments in sync?
Uh-huh.
ArgoCD and GitOps might be the
Yeah.
solution.
You got to find the right tool for the job.
Exactly.
Don't be afraid to experiment.
Right.
Either try out different tools, see what works best for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And remember, you don't have to figure it all out on your own.
Right.
The open source community is really helpful, and there's plenty of documentation and forums and blog posts available.
Absolutely. Tons of resources to help you.
So it's really fascinating how this whole concept of cluster management has evolved over the years.
It really has. In the early days of Kubernetes, it was a lot more DIY.
Right.
You had to cobble together your own solutions, write your own scripts, and a lot of things were manual.
Yeah. And then as Kubernetes gained popularity, adoption grew, the need for more powerful tools became really apparent.
Exactly. And the open source community stepped up. These tools that we're talking about today represent years of innovation and collaboration.
Right. And they've been battle tested. They're constantly being improved. It's really amazing.
It's really a testament to open source and the community. I'll be honest, when I first started learning about Kubernetes, I was pretty intimidated
Oh, yeah.
by all the jargon and the complexity.
So it's definitely a steep learning curve.
But once you start digging into these open source tools, it really starts to click.
Yeah, they abstract away a lot of that complexity. They provide a more user-friendly way to work with your cluster.
Right. It's like learning to drive a car.
Okay, yeah.
First, it seems like a lot to take in, but once you get the hang of it, it becomes second nature.
Exactly. And these tools, they just make it so much easier, more approachable, and ultimately more enjoyable.
Right.
Yeah.
So don't let that initial learning curve scare you off. There's a ton of resources out there to help you,
For sure.
and the payoff is worth it. Okay. I'm really intrigued by this whole GitOps approach with ArgoCD.
Yeah.
Managing infrastructure as code. It just seems so powerful.
Oh, it is. You get so many benefits: consistency, traceability, collaboration. You're treating your infrastructure just like you treat your application code.
Right. Why wouldn't you want your infrastructure version controlled just like your code?
It makes sense, and it ties back to this whole DevOps movement, right? Shifting toward more automated self-service workflows. GitOps really empowers developers to take ownership of deployments and manage their infrastructure in a declarative way.
It's all about breaking down those silos between development and operations.
Exactly.
It's about fostering a culture of collaboration, shared responsibility.
Yeah, and automation isn't just about speed and efficiency. It's also about reducing errors.
Right.
Increasing reliability. When you automate your deployments, you're removing human error from the equation.
That's right. Which brings us back to that analogy of Kubernetes as the air traffic controller.
Right.
Right. You can make sure that all planes, all your applications are landing safely and on time.
Exactly. That's what we're all striving for. Smooth, reliable, scalable operations.
And speaking of operations, so let's talk about monitoring.
Right.
Because you can have the most amazing deployments in the world.
Right.
But if you can't see what's happening, you're flying blind.
Yeah, you're in trouble. That's where Prometheus and Grafana come in.
That's right.
Those are your eyes and ears into what's happening in your cluster.
Prometheus collects all this data, and Grafana makes it sing.
Oh, yeah. Grafana is where the magic happens. It takes those raw metrics and turns them into something you can actually understand and use.
Right.
It's night and day.
You can see how your cluster is performing, identify bottlenecks, see trends over time.
Yeah.
Get a complete picture of the system's health.
And the best part is you can customize these dashboards however you want.
Yeah.
You can track the metrics that matter most to you and create visualizations that make sense for your team.
So you're not just bombarded with data.
Yeah.
You're getting insights that you can use. But setting up Prometheus and Grafana can be a little tricky for beginners.
It can be, but that's where Kube-Prometheus-Stack comes in. It's like a pre-assembled Lego set. You still get the fun of building it, but without the hassle of sorting through all the pieces.
That's a great analogy.
Right.
It takes away the pain of setting up and gives you a solid foundation to start with.
Yeah.
And even if you're more experienced, Kube-Prometheus-Stack can still save you time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a well-maintained project with a great community behind it.
Right. Which brings us to another important point. Don't be afraid to use the work that others have done.
Yeah.
Open source is all about sharing and collaboration.
Yeah.
There's no need to reinvent the wheel.
Exactly. Embrace the community, explore those existing solutions, contribute back when you can.
Exactly. Okay, so we've talked about the importance of monitoring.
Yeah.
But things do go wrong.
Hmm.
Even with the best tools, you're going to encounter problems.
Right.
So how do you approach troubleshooting in a Kubernetes environment?
That's a great question, and this is really where monitoring tools like Prometheus and Grafana shine. You have all these detailed metrics at your fingertips. You can create custom dashboards. You can pinpoint the root cause of a problem so much faster.
It's like having a detective's toolkit.
Exactly. You can analyze the logs. You can correlate events to figure out what went wrong. And because Prometheus stores data over time,
Right.
you can go back and see how things were behaving before the problem happened.
Like a time machine for your cluster.
Exactly. You can rewind and replay events to see how things unfolded, which is super valuable for identifying patterns and preventing issues in the future.
Right. So troubleshooting in Kubernetes doesn't have to be a guessing game.
Exactly.
With the right tools, you can identify and resolve issues much faster.
Right. Minimize downtime, keep your applications running.
Okay, before we get too deep into the technical details, I want to bring it back to the human element of Kubernetes.
Oh, yes.
Because behind all this code and all these containers and clusters, there are people making it all happen.
Right.
And sometimes we forget about that.
We do. It's like admiring a bridge, but forgetting about all the engineers who designed it and the workers who built it.
Yeah, exactly. Kubernetes is the same. There are developers building these applications, operations teams, keeping everything running, and this passionate community sharing their knowledge and contributing to the ecosystem.
Yeah.
So remember to connect with those people.
Yes.
Attend meetups, participate in forums, contribute to open source projects.
It's what makes it fun and rewarding.
All right. I think it's time to wrap up this part of our deep dive.
Yeah, it's been a really interesting journey exploring all these tools.
It really has. We've gone from canines to ArgoCD to Prometheus and Grafana. We've covered a lot of ground.
And I think what's been most impressive is how these tools embody open source collaboration, innovation, and this desire to make complex technology easier to use.
It's like the community saw the challenges of Kubernetes and said, we can do better.
Right.
And they went out and they built a solution.
Yeah. They shared them with the world. That's the beauty of it. You don't have to start from nothing. You can build on what others have done.
So let's say you're not starting from scratch. You've got some tools. You're feeling confident, but you're ready to take it to the next level.
Okay.
What advice would you give to someone who wants to level up their Kubernetes skills?
I would say don't be afraid to try out new tools and new approaches. What works for one team might not work for another.
Right.
So find the tools that work best for your team and your workflow.
It's like cooking. You might have your favorite spices, but sometimes you got to try something new.
Exactly.
Or you might find a new flavor you never knew you liked.
Right.
And Kubernetes is constantly changing.
It is.
So how do you keep up?
Stay plugged into the community. Read blogs, newsletters, go to conferences, talk to other people who use Kubernetes. You'll always learn something new.
It's like being a lifelong student of Kubernetes.
Yeah.
But that's what keeps it interesting.
Right. And you never know where you'll find that next great idea that changes how you think about things.
Okay, before we wrap up, I want to touch on something we haven't talked about directly.
Okay.
The human element of Kubernetes.
Ah, yes.
Behind all the technology, there are people making it work.
Right. It's easy to forget that.
It's like we admire a bridge, but we forget about the engineers who designed it and the people who built it.
Yeah.
Kubernetes is the same. There are developers building applications, there are operations teams keeping things running smoothly, and there's that community.
Yeah.
So connect with those people. Go to meetups, join forums, contribute to open source.
It's what makes it all worthwhile.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into open source Kubernetes cluster management, what's the one thing you want people to remember?
I would say don't be intimidated by Kubernetes. With the right tools and the right community, you can do amazing things. And you might even find a passion you never knew you had.
That's a great point. So to all our listeners out there, embrace the challenge, explore the possibilities, and keep learning.
Yeah.
That's all for our deep dive. Thanks for joining us, and happy clustering.